Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day. It's been a crazy last couple of weeks. A lot of people have been wondering and or speculating as to exactly why Bitcoin could be going up in value, especially over the last 5 months, having gone up. It's around like 400% or something like that now, which is absolutely insane. Found an article. It kind of sheds a lot of light on exactly what is taking place within the cryptocurrency space. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. It says, Bitcoin has a finite supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin in existence. This is a key factor in the value of Bitcoin and is crucial to understanding why Bitcoin is rising in value today. Here's a little chart here on the screen. For those who are not looking at it, there's a screen. It's a whole bunch of colors. Starts at the bottom at red, and at the top it is blue. It says the chart above plots the price of Bitcoin, which is the black line, over time, compared against the colored bands, which represent the percentage of Bitcoin supply that has not been spent within a certain time frame. The blue bands, these are around here, represent the top percentage of Bitcoin in existence that have not been spent or moved in over 5 years. The red bands at the bottom represent the percentage of Bitcoin that hasn't been spent in less than 1 day. What does it all mean? You'll notice that while the total supply of Bitcoin is rising, the liquid supply of Bitcoin is decreasing. This is represented by the growth of the blue bands right around here. In the top right corner of the chart, as mentioned, these bands represent the percent of Bitcoin in circulation that hasn't been moved or spent in over 5 years. It represents the hodlers. This was a very interesting topic that we started talking about sometime last year. We mentioned many times in different videos that it appeared that the amount of Bitcoin that was in circulation, i.e. I think it's supposed to be around 17 million right now, was rapidly decreasing. As in, there are still 17 million Bitcoin that have been created, but the amount that we're actually passing back and forth was seemingly rapidly decreasing. And we noticed this as well when people were starting to figure out that there weren't as many Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies on different cryptocurrency exchanges, and it appeared that people who were buying over the counter, that means pretty much they were buying without touching the cryptocurrency exchange, were buying up massive amounts without actually influencing the price of Bitcoin. And now it appears that one of the main factors one of the fragments of the factors for the rising in the price of Bitcoin is that people are realizing that I don't want to say need to buy Bitcoin. People are starting to buy Bitcoin and they're realizing that there actually isn't a lot out there. So as people are buying up now on exchanges, as the price continues to go higher, the supply is drying up a lot quicker than people thought. And I said this many other times before. I said I didn't even think, according to estimates that we had, it was apparently that there may have been around 2 to 3 million Bitcoin actually floating around out there. And now estimates are that it's actually 1 million, if not even less, especially over the last couple of weeks, that people have actually been buying large amounts of, or even just tiny fractions of Bitcoin as time has been going on. It says in approximately 330 days, the Bitcoin mining reward will be cut in half. Let's take a step back so we can better understand what this means and what it will do to the value of Bitcoin. This is something that a couple of people didn't really understand, or rather, I think a lot of people who are relatively new to the cryptocurrency space, were asking what exactly did this mean. Pretty much every single time that a transaction is verified on the Bitcoin network, the people who are verifying the transactions, they are rewarded with Bitcoin. Right now, what ends up happening is they receive a certain amount, and then when the reward gets cut in half, pretty much next year, in 330 days, they will receive half as many coins, which means the rate of production of Bitcoin will be cut in half by 50%. And what ends up happening is that as more people get into the cryptocurrency space and they're trying to buy more Bitcoin, there aren't as many Bitcoin because the reward has been cut in half, but people are still going to be buying the same, if not more, Bitcoin in an attempt to be able to keep up with everyone else as it kind of were. And it talks about the Bitcoin white paper, which isn't something super important. It pretty much goes into the fact that there only will be 21 million Bitcoin in existence, but every 4 years, the reward or the amount of Bitcoin that is created gets cut in half. And it just so happens that this is happening at a very pivotal moment in the cryptocurrency space because Bitcoin is now more popular than ever. More people know about Bitcoin. The amount of people that we had into Bitcoin in 2017 when it hit or is near to $20,000 has been dwarfed dramatically by the amount of people who are now in the cryptocurrency space right now, especially because we've seen a huge uptick in the amount of rich people who have been trying to get into the cryptocurrency space. It says hedge funds, banks, pensions, and other financial institutions have been quick to speak negatively about Bitcoin in the past. The CEO of JP Morgan notoriously called Bitcoin a scam right before announcing that he had loaded up on Bitcoin himself and that JP Morgan would be launching their own cryptocurrency. For those who, I don't even know the exact name of the video, you can definitely find it online. It's Jamie Dimon, that's the guy who is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. You can find thousands of videos of him talking negatively about Bitcoin. And he actually has one video where he talks about, oh, Bitcoin isn't that bad. And he said the thing that kind of clicked in his mind was one day he was talking to his son, and his son actually mentioned, hey, Dad, I actually own 2 Bitcoin. And you can see like the despair on Jamie Dimon's face as he's sitting on stage. The video is him. He has his arm in a cast, and that's the video. I assume he wasn't in a cast for a very long time, but that was the video where he was talking about that his son had bought Bitcoin, so he decided that he must get into it as well. You could tell that he was a little sad because he has spent the last 4 years doing everything that he could trying to talk negatively about Bitcoin, and then lo and behold, his son owns it. And now he also just happens to own some himself. It says people tend to hate what they don't understand. And up until recently, institutional players didn't really understand Bitcoin. Bitcoin's value is a result of the growing number of people who understand its utility. And it seems like institutional investors are starting to catch on to that utility as well. I think a large part of this has been, if for those of you who have noticed, we've seen a lot of large major financial institutions the last couple of months openly come out and say, hey, we're also getting into Bitcoin. We're getting into cryptocurrency. And this has, what's the nicest way of saying this? A lot of people who used to not believe in Bitcoin or think that Bitcoin was going nowhere now seemingly understand exactly where all of this is going, because over the course of 2018, as prices were shrinking down, that's the word that I'm going to use, the amount of attention that we saw, for those of you who were actually here during 2018 and remember watching all of those videos, it was completely insane because every single day was just good news, and it was kind of causing a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space to completely lose their minds. Not even a joke, because every day was good news. The only odd bad news that we had was like things about the SEC or random governments coming forward talking about that they were going to ban Bitcoin or restrict Bitcoin. Besides that, everything else was major players getting into the cryptocurrency space, news about record over-the-counter buying and selling, and people buying up millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrencies, and companies owning 1% of all Bitcoin, and they own 5% of all Bitcoin, and they're custodying this, and this is getting into so-and-so, but the prices kept on going down, which I'm actually going to try and get into a little bit later on in this video as well. It says there has been a rise in the number of institutions actively investing or considering to invest in cryptocurrency. Fidelity opened a cryptocurrency custody service in early 2019. They conducted a survey amongst institutional investors and found that 43% of them want to add cryptocurrency to their portfolios. This is big because the demographic that allows institutional investors to control their money is the same demographic that shows resistance in entering crypto markets. If institutional investors decide to move their assets under management from bonds or gold to Bitcoin, the growth would be astonishing. It's not actually mentioned in here as this particular thing has not actually happened yet. It is believed that the next phase of movement will actually be this. Everything else from before, Andreas Antonopoulos, many other people who I can't even remember their names right now, have mentioned before, is that the stages of what's happening right now would come to fruition. This is where we are right now, but the next step, the next plateau is going to be as Bitcoin continues to rise and eventually ends up hitting above 50,000, making its way towards $100,000. People will realize that while they may have made money in bonds, got a 1% return, or had their money in gold, and over the past, 7 years, I think maybe made $200 per ounce of gold. Wonderful. They're going to start pushing their money from that, start selling off their bonds, selling off their gold, and start pushing that into Bitcoin exclusively. This is the next step. It is going to happen. It's just more so a matter of when. A lot of people are saying within the next 2 years, especially as a lot of the larger institutional investors, hedge funds, banks, and pensions, especially because we know that banks are definitely into cryptocurrency right now. This is when everything is going to start to rapidly get out of control as more people buy in a frenzy just to own even just fragments of Bitcoin. A lot of the recent growth we've seen in Bitcoin has come as a result of institutional investors, pretty much rich people, entering the space with large amounts of capital. The market cap of the entire crypto market is around 300 billion at the moment. The last time it was around 300 billion, Bitcoin hit all-time highs, as well as Ether, Litecoin, and several other top coins. This is important because of a lack of liquidity was cited as the main reason for institutional investors staying clear of cryptocurrency in the past. They were afraid that it wouldn't be enough buyers to liquidate large orders when it came time to sell. The fact that this is why 2018 was very fascinating, because we constantly had all of these things building up very rapidly. They're building up as they were, this was kind of the name of the thing that they wanted to really, they wanted to make sure that regulators were okay with it. And also they wanted to increase liquidity all over the market. And this is why the entrance of the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are incredibly significant, because the people who are going to be using their platform to trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies back and forth are going to introduce potentially hundreds of billions of dollars. I know that number sounds insane. You probably can't even fathom that in your mind, but this is the amount of money that they're going to be pushing into the cryptocurrency space. And this is where we get that hyper liquidity that we have been talking about. It says right here, for the people from the, I believe it's the Yahoo Finance, it says institutional demand for Bitcoin has soared. As of the 17th of June, open interest at CME Group saw 5,311 contracts totaling 26,555 Bitcoin, or approximately $246 million, dwarfing the volumes during the 2017 price peak. We are well ahead of where we should be, as in the amount of people and the amount of interest that we have in the cryptocurrency space is far greater than where we were in 2017. And this is where we get all those really crazy price predictions for Bitcoin, because it's no longer just normal people in the cryptocurrency space. It is now major players who are pushing tons of money into the market to buy up as much as they can and put it away in locks and vaults. We had news a couple of weeks ago, for those of you who remember, not even the one who owns, or rather they're custodying 5% of all the Bitcoin in the world. There was another one where they were talking about that they actually put Bitcoin, I don't know exactly what they're doing, or rather what the trust is, or exactly what kind of company they are, but they are putting Bitcoin, I can only assume, on computers, hard drives, what have you, and hiding them inside of mountains in Switzerland. That's when you know things are getting really serious, when people realize that nowhere is safe except for a mountain inside of Switzerland. The last thing that this person mentions is the Libra thing from Facebook, pretty much their crypto that they are trying to launch. The major takeaway from all of this is that for the past weeks, news about Project Libra have been all over Twitter, Medium, and even traditional media finance. Forbes, Fast Money, Financial Times, everyone is covering Facebook's entrance into the cryptocurrency markets. The fact that Facebook has, I dare not even say the word legitimized cryptocurrencies, is more the fact that they decided to get into it, and it shows that they are trying to take over the banking sector, and other banks are now desperately trying to get into the cryptocurrency space as well, either making their own cryptocurrency or joining other cryptocurrency projects. Has lit a fire under the entirety of the cryptocurrency space. It was really weird, because for weeks, even before, when we had rumors about this, it was believed that the price of Bitcoin would skyrocket once we had proper confirmation of Facebook launching their own cryptocurrency. And lo and behold, they announced it. Bitcoin has started going up ever since, because people in the media I don't even know how to really phrase it. Like, they finally get that crypto is a thing. A lot of people, for some reason, thought that cryptocurrencies were dead in 2018. For those of you who stuck around, you understand that it was not going anywhere, and that it did not die and is not going to die anytime soon. It is going to continue to be a behemoth, regardless of what naysayers are saying. There's a lot of people who think that the cryptocurrency market is going to go down. I wish them the best of luck. They've been calling for these numbers for about a good 6, 7, 8 months. And what's always interesting about that is that whenever they make a prediction that the cryptocurrency market is going to go down, it's usually they say it's going to go down in 3 days. It's going to go down in about 4 days. In 2 days, the market is going down. None of them have been correct, and they're not going to be correct, because they're focusing on the negative side as opposed to the actual adoption that's actually happening within the cryptocurrency space. I have a number of tabs up here, as you might have noticed, and I'm going to go through some SOME of the things that are going to be happening relatively soon. That is literally within the next 3, 4, 5 weeks within the cryptocurrency space, or things that have just launched. When you talk about institutional investors or very rich people getting into the cryptocurrency space, we have a lot of movement in the market right now, because people are buying up as much as they can in anticipation for a lot of these things to actually get started, which they're all going to be starting relatively soon. The first one says NASDAQ's Bitcoin futures will launch in the first half of 2019. We have not had a concrete date, but everyone is incredibly excited for this. The next one says Fidelity will offer cryptocurrency trading within a few weeks. This was actually a couple of weeks ago. It is expected that sometime in July, it's a couple of days away, Fidelity will launch their crypto trading platform, and that will First of all, for those who don't know, just to reiterate what Fidelity is, they are a custodian, financial helper, money maker, whatever you kind of want to call them. I believe that they own several, or rather they are custodying several $1 trillion worth of assets, and it is believed as they get into the cryptocurrency space, normal people who know Fidelity will get into the cryptocurrency markets, and also a lot of their customers will be advised to put even just 1% of their portfolio into the cryptocurrency space. And what happens when you put 1% of a couple $1 trillion into the market just from Fidelity alone, you get a Bitcoin price that continues to move even higher. We have TD Ameritrade, who has officially launched their ErisX regulated cryptocurrency exchange for trading. TD Ameritrade is also gigantic and have a lot of money behind them. The people from the New York Stock Exchange are launching something called Bakkt, and they're officially going to be launching this. I believe it is the 22nd of July. This is why I said within the next couple of weeks, things are going to get very, very serious. I remember, my goodness, I remember at the beginning, the very, very beginning of this year, people were saying that Bakkt, the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, Fidelity, all these things would have no influence on the price of Bitcoin. For those of you who remember at the beginning of the year, there were people who were saying, a lot of analysts, the same exact negative people who pretty much are sitting in the corner by themselves. They said that the maximum that Bitcoin would hit this year was around $5,000. Right, that's what they believed. Over here, a couple of days ago, or even yesterday, the people from LedgerX got final approval from the CFTC to start launching their physically delivered Bitcoin futures. Very important that is. What we've seen as well during the rundown of the 2018 market, that a lot of hedge funds have started to grow immensely. There was a lot of accumulation of cryptocurrencies, and also there were a lot of, what's it called? I keep saying the term money making, and it's not the term that I want to use, but you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Like, funds were being raised behind the scenes, and they ended up being hundreds of millions of dollars in these funds to be able to simply just purchase cryptocurrencies. But a lot of this was also happening behind the scenes, and it was happening over the counter and was not touching cryptocurrency exchanges. So none of this movement was actually seen on the cryptocurrency markets, but these people were accumulating massive amounts of cryptocurrencies right beneath our nose. Bakkt, the people from the New York Stock Exchange, also announced that during the market going down during 2018, that they loved it because it was a great time for them to accumulate digital assets. And I understand that it's not easy for everyone to kind of put this into frame, but I've noticed, thank goodness, a lot of people have been mentioning it in the comment section over the last couple of days that they have actually, or that rather that they did take my advice or listen to the news that I was talking about, and they did end up buying Bitcoin around $3,000. Some of them ended up buying around $4,500, give or take exactly what the price might be, because I said it's a little weird that the prices in 2018 would be slamming down, but the people from the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ just seemingly decided to start accumulating cryptocurrencies. Why would they be doing that? I assume that they are a large holder of an immense amount of cryptocurrencies. We may never know the exact amount, but I'm going to say it is probably Winklevoss levels, anywhere between 1 to 3% of all the Bitcoin that's actually floating around out there, especially as prices were going down. I'm pretty sure billions of dollars were being pushed to grow infrastructure as well as also accumulate large amounts of cryptocurrencies. For those who don't know, we had news in 2018. This is why 2018 was very significant. The people from the Rockefeller family, yes, that Rockefeller family, the super rich one, announced that they were also getting into Bitcoin. It was in coordination with, they have something called, if it loads, there we go, venture capital called Venrock, that they were also going to be investing in cryptocurrencies. This was also a very interesting time because the price of Bitcoin kept on going down. As all of this was happening, everyone was like, oh my gosh, crypto's over. And I'm like, I don't think so. I'm fairly certain with all of this information, it definitely appears that cryptocurrencies are probably going to have a very bright future. A couple of weeks ago as well, for those who were not here before the prices started going up, 3 countries during a meeting with the International Monetary Fund told them that they planned on issuing bonds with Bitcoin. They were Afghanistan, Tunisia, Uzbekistan. It says it's somewhere around here in the actual article. Pretty much they announced or said, depending on where you looked, that their currencies weren't doing that well, and they believed that the usage of Bitcoin could actually help their economy grow. That's kind of the nicest way of saying it. And I mentioned before in other things that one of the most interesting things about the entire situation was that during all of this, I kept on mentioning, and we had other news as well, about multiple other countries who were rumored to have been buying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and people called me crazy. They said, no, that doesn't make any sense. Why would countries be buying Bitcoin? They don't like decentralization. I'm like, it has nothing to do with decentralization. It has to come down to the fact that for those of you who saw that other video about the $10 million Bitcoin, there are a number of analysts. When things like this are happening, it's not that these institutions or governments randomly get into Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. They do testing and as many things as they possibly can over the course of years to figure out if they actually want to get into this. And the fact that people are being told or are analyzing or have come to the conclusion that if things continue the way that they are, allegedly, no one knows for certain, if things continue the way that they are, Bitcoin could eventually hit $1 million, if not $10 million per day. What happens when you tell a government you can buy something for $3,000 and one day it's going to be worth 10 million, if not more? They start buying as much as they possibly can when prices are low, and this kind of gets us into that entire thing as well, where governments were talking about banning Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and then a lot of them were also buying Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Same exact thing with the banks. They were trying to get in as low as possible and doing everything that they could to lower prices, and a lot of that lowering of the prices isn't really working as much anymore because they probably do own large amounts of cryptocurrencies, and this is why the supply is running incredibly short. For those who don't know, it is also widely believed that anywhere between 4 to 6 million Bitcoin are lost and gone forever. That's people losing their private keys, people losing their information, people losing their passwords, people throwing out old computers. A long time ago, it was a lot easier to create and mine cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. It is no longer that way, and this is why we have a very finite supply kind of floating around out there. In the very beginning, it was very easy to get 100,000 Bitcoin in a matter of months, days, depending on how you want to look at it, especially when Bitcoin was worth around 1 cent per coin. A lot of people lost those Bitcoin. They're gone and lost forever, and this is why the supply is more finite than it actually... A lot of people think this is... I mean, when you talk about the actual amount that's actually floating around out there, people think that it's actually a lot lower than people are even guesstimating that's actually around out there. On top of that as well, keeping in mind, this all plays a part in everything that we've been talking about as to why the price of Bitcoin is going up. A lot of people tend to think or believe or don't go much farther in their head than the fact that Bitcoin is going up because me and my friends are buying. Oh, I saw something on the news, Bitcoin is going up because of that. There are, 7.4 billion people in the world. It is estimated that at least 50 million people on this planet are buying up Bitcoin at the moment. What we've seen in a lot of countries that are not doing very well economically is that they are also buying up large amounts of Bitcoin, regardless if it's illegal or not within their country. They are still doing everything that they can. We had the news, it had to be a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you guys also thought, there was a video of it as well. There was a video online, so I forgot exactly where it was. It was this woman, her face was completely obfuscated. You couldn't tell, who she, like what she looked like, but she was saying that she had bought a couple of tiny old Bitcoin miners, and the money that she's making from that in Venezuela has allowed her to be able to feed her family because every time that she ends up getting her paycheck, the money gets devalued so quickly, not even a joke. By the time she runs to the supermarket, she has to pay twice as much for everything because in Venezuela, they are currently undergoing one of the largest levels of hyperinflation that we have ever seen in this world. In 2018, it was over 1,000,000%, and I believe right now it's over 1.5 million%. So their currency is, I think, what was the thing that I was, someone was saying, I think like a jar of sand is actually worth more than the currency in Venezuela. Like you can go to a beach, get like a jar of sand and sell that, and it'll be worth more than the actual local currency. This also ties into the news that we've also had as well, that the lowest denomination of a Bitcoin, someone else was asking that before as well. Sorry for not getting to in the comment section. They were asking what a Satoshi is. Bitcoin can be fractioned down from one coin down to little fragments of it, and we call the fragments Satoshis. So you have like 0.000000001, that's a Satoshi. And it appears now that to the 8th decimal point, one Satoshi, the lowest denomination in Bitcoin, is actually worth more than multiple currencies around the world. Think about that. Think about how bad the world is doing economically. That, what is it, one 100 millionth of a Bitcoin is worth more than currencies, paper currencies around the world. Tying into this as well, we had news before that the Jamaican Stock Exchange is also going to get into Bitcoin and Ether, and then you also have This one right here, the German stock exchange eyes Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I think also they may have launched an app for this as well. So I can't stress enough how worldwide all of this actually is. It's not just because of one little instance or one little thing. While this article was great, absolutely wonderful, did a very good job of explaining exactly some of the major things that are happening, it's little things that are happening around the world. It's the people who can't afford an entire Bitcoin who buy 5% of a Bitcoin. And that's still, was that 5 million Satoshis? That's still adding up as time goes on, especially if you are buying 5 million Satoshis per week. Everything, for those who don't know, everything eventually is going to be denominated in Satoshis, so get ready for that. Start familiarizing yourself with Satoshis, especially if you are only going to buy a fragment of a Bitcoin. It is going to be denominated in Satoshis, and that's just kind of how the future is going to go. Don't really know how else to put that for everyone out there, but the point is, we are seeing a worldwide movement right before our eyes, and it's happening very rapidly. There are a lot of people who did not pay attention before. I'm pretty sure they're paying attention now. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is that it's still very early in the game. Bitcoin is not going to plateau at 25,000 and then never raising the higher. It's not going to go to 50,000 and then completely stop. We are getting estimates that Bitcoin is going to go to several $1 million per coin. And that's going to, and then it comes down to the fact that you listening to this right now are extremely lucky that you're in the cryptocurrency space when you are, because you still have not financial advice. You still have the ability to buy Bitcoin while the price is even where it is right now before it ends up going to $100,000. Just think of what's going to happen when the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ and Fidelity and everyone else finally launches their cryptocurrency platforms, and we have billions of dollars rushing into the market to use these platforms. It's going to be completely insane. One of the things I think that gets overlooked very easily, one of the things that I'm the most fascinated with and I actually love, I used to be very into documentaries about things like this and learning more about it. It comes down to estate planning. Pretty much, if you have money, you try to figure out how to make sure your money grows and make sure that your money grows over the course of multiple generations. There have been an enormous amount of estate planning, wealth management services who have gotten into the cryptocurrency space over the last year. They were there around 2016, 2017. They were very hush-hush about it, but not what we're seeing now is a lot of law firms, a lot of institutions are getting into, you can find them out there as well. They're very interesting, where they are, they're telling their clients exactly how to deal with Bitcoin and Ether and other cryptocurrencies and exactly how to deal with them, how to make sure that their money grows, exactly how to make sure that these assets are passed on to their families, which was a major thing that happened in 2018. We had a number of millionaires and billionaires who actually had passed away and their cryptocurrency is more or less lost forever because of the private keys were gone, no one knew the passwords, etc., 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 which also then decreases the amount of Bitcoin that's actually floating around there as well. But when you talk about family services like this, there are, what is it? I think 26 million millionaires on this planet. I think that's the number. When you talk about the amount of family services that are like this, they are multiple, they are plenty. They are not informing their clients to simply buy a Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoin. They're usually telling them to try and buy 10, 15, 30, maybe even 50 at one time. I've met people who have services like this, and then, like I said before, they tend to tell their clients to invest at least 1% of their assets into something, something that may be risky. Typically, 99% is totally fine. 1% can go into something risky. If you have $100 million, 1% of that is $1 million. And if someone's like, yeah, just put $1 million into Bitcoin, that also causes the supply to lower, and also the amount of price of Bitcoin also tends to relatively shoot up as there is less out there. Keeping also in mind, I've seen a lot of people mentioning this in the comment section, and I'm very glad that people are paying attention to this as well. While there may be, I'm pretty sure it's around 26 million millionaires around the world. While that may seem like a very large number, there are not enough Bitcoin for, first of all, there's not enough Bitcoin out there for every person on this planet to go around. And there's not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire on this planet to have a complete Bitcoin. It is impossible. So as the frenzy continues, as the price continues to go up, as people continue to buy small amounts of Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin actually out there on cryptocurrency exchanges is going to dry up. And then what ends up happening when all the naysayers who hated Bitcoin for so long see that Bitcoin ends up hitting $100,000, they're going to start buying as much as they possibly can as well. They may not be able to buy 50, 38, or 100 Bitcoin, but they're definitely going to be buying 10 Bitcoin with that $1 million that they're able to allocate. And then even less Bitcoin is also going to be out there. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Hope it's absolutely fantastic. We are living in very, 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 very interesting times. A lot of weird price predictions out there. I won't really go over them in depth as much as I would like to. But the fact is, this was spoken about years ago. People said that this was going to happen. It is happening, and this is only being accelerated. We haven't even gotten to the fact of how bad the world's economic system is right now. It's in shambles, and it's only getting worse. A lot of stuff is happening around the world, for those of you who have not been paying attention, that are causing a lot of people around the world, not just in a country or 5 countries. It's happening in at least 50, 60, 70 countries around the world, at least, that we have metrics on, who are buying up large amounts of cryptocurrencies. Especially imagine in countries where people really are not doing well economically. The fact that if you bought Bitcoin in January and your local currency has lost 1.5 million% in value, while Bitcoin has gone up by 400%. In those countries, you have made an enormous amount of money, especially if the price of Bitcoin continues going up. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. Pay attention to everything that's happening. We are very, very close to July. I'm excited. I've always been excited. There hasn't been a moment where I haven't really been not excited about the cryptocurrency space. All of this is tying up perfectly. It is expected by the end of this year, I have to say it. People are talking about anywhere from a $30,000 to $50,000 Bitcoin. I think we are more than close to that. Thank you all once again for watching and listening, and I will definitely be talking to you all soon. See you.